Okay, today we are going to terminate 25 pair cable. Here is our 25 pair cable. Each of you is going to get a piece of that, and you're going to terminate this thing onto a BIX termination field. Now, the 25 pair cable mostly is used in telephony. Very rarely for data. However, I've seen a case or two as I went along with my journey. However, most of the time you're going to see that in telephony or intercom or some sort of control systems. Now, basically, the 25 pair, usually in the States, you're going to see 66 termination platform. Okay, in Canada mostly, and in the States you're going to see that more and more now, is the BIX termination platform. Okay, so either 66 termination blocks or BIX. We're not going to do 66 termination because frankly we are not using that thing in Canada for a long time. Anyways, so here is the BIX. Now let's just jump into some background as far as BIX is concerned. I'm just going to give you a bit of a background here. Alright, so 25 pair termination. Okay, BIX. BIX stands for Building Industry Cross Connect. Is part of a telephony cross connect system, integrated building distribution network. So in short, IBDN. When you hear that basically that's what it means, but most of the time you're going to hear BIX. Now, it was created in 1970s by Nortel Networks. As a system, it consists of various sizes of punch-down blocks, cable distribution accessories, such as molded rings or cable management rings, and punch-down tool to terminate wires at the punch-down block. Now, here's a statement. The BIX cross-connect system as a whole is certified as Category 5, Cat 5E. Now, I just put a little circle here, subject to verification upon purchasing. Get the right equipment rating for your needs. Most of the time, usually when you buy BIX termination strips or BIX termination platform or connectors such as this, you're going to have that sold in Cat 3, which is the minimum requirement for telephony. Now, if you want Cat 5e, you need to specify that you need to purchase Cat 5e rated equipment. Okay? Now, BIX Cross Connect system is primarily composed of two parts, the mounts and the connectors. So here is the mount. This mount can hold 10 connectors. And this is a connector. Okay, so the connectors are mounted in the mounts just like that. All right, we can put another one here, and they're also complemented with designation strips. So that's basically, this is one pair of connectors, here's another pair of connectors, here's another pair of connectors. So this frame holds 10 connectors. It's 250 pairs. So this would be a 25 pair cable terminated on one strip, and there's another 25 pair. So here's 50, 50, 50, 50, and 50. So that would give you 250 pairs. Now, you can buy those mounts in just a 50 pair configuration. So you would just get this part of it, or you can get those in 100 pair configuration, or you can get them in 250 pair configuration, depending on your needs. Now, sometimes I saw that in some cases some companies just buy the 10 position frames or mounts, and you just use a hacksaw. If you need just one part of that, you're just going to cut this off. Now, it depends on what you do and on the situation. Okay, so all right, so again, we just went over that. The BIX cross-connect system is primarily composed of two parts, the mounts and the connectors. Now, since 1970s, Northern Telecom, or Nortel, who designed the BIX system, had been manufacturing BIX mounts, connectors, and tools in-house. Northern Telecom manufacturing division was called Nortel Cable Group. In February 1996, Northern Cable Group was sold to Cable Design Technologies, CDT Corporation, and was renamed to Nordex, or Nordex CDT, Cable Design Technologies. Nordex CDT subsequently merged with Belden Incorporated in July 2004, becoming Belden CDT Incorporated. In May 2007, Belden CDT officially changed its name to Belden. Okay. Belden now sells all BIX products, including mounts, connectors, tools, and accessories, previously sold by Nordex CDT, and before that, Nortel Cable Group. So here is a bit of a background. Now, a more detailed background comes right now. Okay, now, next slide here. Let's take a look at some details. Here is a BIX connector. Basically, it looks like this. All right, that's the one that we are going to be using today in our lab. Okay. All right, now let's take a look at this connector here. The BIX termination strip, or connector. Now, this one says QC BIX X1A. I think the QC stands for Quick Connect, but don't quote me on that. I was trying to find out what this means, but the closest thing I remember would be Quick Connect. BIX is the company name, and here's the designation 1A, and there could be, I see this one is 1A4. So let's just take a look at the 1A first. All right, so orientation marks every 5th pair for the BIX 1A. These are just orientation marks, just like this one here. Here's an orientation mark, here's an orientation mark, and every 5 pairs you're going to see an orientation mark. Right. Now, how are those? How is this connector constructed? Well, basically, those are IDC insulation displacement clips or connectors, and let's see if I can pull this view of a microscope here. Here it is. Here's our microscope. Now you see here, so that's basically that's what this connector. Oops, here there's oh, here's the view. All right, here's the connector, and now we're going to just take a look inside how we how it looks like inside there. Okay, so here is an insulation displacement connector right there. See that? Here's a clip. That's where the wire goes. There's a little metal part there. All right, so losing my view here. Okay, so this would be one pair. Yeah. So if we were using the white blue, of course the group color goes first, so white would go first and the blue go first. The next pair would be orange, so it would be white, orange, and orange. So here is it, white, orange, and orange. Okay, and so on. Now this clip here, this IDC clip, goes all the way to the other side. Okay. Now there is a straight through connection from here all the way to the back, and that's the only connection that is happening as far as this termination slot right here. The next one, same thing, the next one, and same thing. So basically it's 1-to-1 from the rear to the front, or from the front to rear. Now the idea of that is, yeah, I'm switching views. The idea of that is that basically you terminate your wires on one side. It will be the field wires coming from wherever they go, and you terminate them on this side here. Then you flip that over, and you can grab those pairs from the front for the purpose of cross-connecting. And cross-connecting is connecting whatever the pair is happening here to whatever pair you need to cross-connect that using a cross-connect wire. Okay, so that's basically the construction of this. And over here, all right, so here is the designation Q, C, you go BIX. Okay, so you can mostly ignore that because they just this pattern just repeats. What we're concentrating on is that 1A connector. 1A connector has one-to-one connections with the IDC clips, and it has orientation marks every fifth pair. That's for the purpose of this works well with terminating 25 pair cable, because 25 pair cable consists of 5 groups and they are color coded. So here would be, and every group has 5 pairs. So here would be the group 1, because once you terminate that and flip it to the back, it's easier to see where's the first group, there's the second group, so, you know, so here would be white group, here would be red group, there's a black, yellow, and violet group, and the colors repeat: blue, orange, green, brown, slate. Blue, orange, green, brown, slate for every group, color group. Okay, so these are just orientation marks. Now let's take a look at another strip, which is designated slightly different. You see here, you see at the end, there's a number 4. Okay, that means that the orientation marks are every 4th pair, right? So here is pair 1, 2, 3, 4, orientation mark, 1, 2, 3, 4, orientation mark, and so on. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 groups, groupings of 4, and there would be 1 left, because 6 times 4 is 24, and this is a 25 pair connector, so of course the 25th pair is going to be just left alone, just on its lonesome. Okay, so here 1A 4. 1A is that means there's 1-to-1 connection here, and 4, these are just orientation marks. Now physically there is no difference. If somebody dipped it in some sort of chemical solution that would erase all the orientation marks from here, then there will be no difference in physical connection. These are just 50, because 25 pairs gives you 50 conductors to be connected. So 50 of these isolation displacement clips that extend from the front to back, and they're connected from the front to back to the front to the back, or from the back to the front on 1-to-1 basis. So that's what the 1 here says. And then there's no number or anything after A. That means you're only going to have 5 pairs. Every 5th pair you're going to have an orientation mark. But these are just orientation marks. They do not change any physical structure inside, and this is how those are connected with the dotted line. So once you download this supplement material from our course portal, you can just basically read this stuff, but this is what I just basically said to you. All right, so here's the 1A4, so that tells us that there's a 1-to-1 connection, and the orientation marks are every 4th pair. Why would we want to use the orientation mark every 4th pair? Well, sometimes instead of terminating 25 pair cable onto the termination strip or connector, you can terminate a bunch of 4 pair cables. Okay, so this would help us to distinguish the placement of cables on 1-to-1 basis. And 1-to-1 basis, what am I talking about? Here's the idea. I'm just going to use my side cutters to cut this zip tie here. Alright, so now this cable here, let me just get rid of this frame for a sec. This cable right here is terminated to the first 4 pairs. Focus. Okay, and it has 4 pairs: blue, orange, green, brown, and, well, blue, orange, green, and brown, because this is 4 pairs. And here's another cable that is terminated right after that, and once we put that, because this is how we terminate this connector, just put it in the going to put that in the mount here. All right, and then once we terminate it, do the punching, and then we're going to flip that, and things are going to be covered with designation marks and so on. So that's all we're going to see here. So these orientation marks are going to help us knowing where one cable ends and the other cable begins, because these cables have 4 pairs only. So here's the first cable, that's the blue pair, that's the orange pair, here. That's the blue pair, that's the orange pair, that's the green pair, and that's the brown pair. And then the next cable begins, and so on. So that's why sometimes we have those different orientation marks posted or painted or marked right on those onto those connectors. Okay, let's keep going. All right, now there are also see here BIX 5A. So now see this number here, 5. These are pair multiplying connectors. You're not going to see them as much. This is basically as if you want to split one pair. Now this is not to be confused with splitting pairs, and I'm going to explain to you what splitting pairs is later on. Now this is just like a pair splitter. Okay, so if you terminate one pair, let's say right here, that pair is going to be copied onto the next 4 pairs. So every basically this is arranged in cascades of 4, okay? Or 5, sorry. Okay, and this is how things are connected. Right, so this is like copying pairs. Very rarely you're going to need to use that, and most of the time, if you buy those, you are going to buy just the 1A instead of 5As, because if you think about it, you can make 5A or any kind of A BIX termination strip from the 1A one. You just punch the wires in a certain way, and I can show you this during the lab. I'm not going to get into too much details here because this video has to be only so long before you fall asleep. Okay, hopefully not. Right. Now, so that's. I just want you to know that these do exist. Okay. Keep going. Other type of connectors would be. It's a 6-port modular to BIX. So over here you have those RJ12 or RJ11 regular telephone connectors, and you would terminate those wires in such way. So this would be this 1, 2, 3, and 4 pairs would correspond with this port. Then the next one here would correspond to that port, and so on. Popularly, this is also called a harmonica. It takes 2 BIX. It takes 2 spaces on the mount. Okay. Now, mounts, BIX type 2 position. This is a 50 pair bracket or mount, or sometimes they're also called frames. Okay. Now this one here is a 10 position or 250 pair. Remember, one of those holds 1 connector, and 1 connector holds 25 pairs. So 2 of those connectors into this frame, if you put those 2 of these and terminate all of them, you have the capacity of 50 pairs onto this bracket. Okay, now this is a 10 position, so you're going to have 10 of those, and it will, in that case, you can have capability of terminating 250 pairs onto this one here. All right. BIX termination tool, punch down tool. This is what the tool looks like, and this is the punching action. You position the punch down tool in a way that the knife is going to cut off the excess wire, and you just do the punch. This is before the punch, this is during the punch. Okay, so that's what these look like right here. Do I have them? Yes, I do. I have a couple of those. Now I have here's a BIX punch down tool. Here's another BIX punch down tool made by another manufacturer, and here's another punch down tool, but this is not BIX, it's 110. And again, we're going to just go over some differences. Okay, so let's just take a look at these here. All right, so here is, let's just forget that 110 punch down tool. Here's a BIX punch down tool. Focus. All right. Now, if you notice, this has the black knife here, and it's a movable part. And this is the pusher right here. Excuse me. There you go. That's how the punch happens. You see, this cable is being, the knife cuts off the cable. Now, this is a different manufacturer. The shape of the head is the same. See that? And also it has a knife. It just works in a slightly different way, but basically you get the same action. Okay, that's just how this one works. Okay. Now this is a 110 punch down tool, and as we remember, this 110 punch down tool is having also a knife, but it's a stationary knife. You should never ever exchange the BIX and the 110 tools, simply because they have different shapes, and one is designed, the 110 will be designed for the 110 punch down platform, and the BIX would be designed for the BIX punch down platform. If you exchange the tools, you might get a connection that is not made in a proper way. Right, so here's the punch down tool. Right, now this is just an overview of how things look like in the field. This is the, what do we see here? We have the 50 pair frame here. Here's the 250 pair frame. Couple of those, just so you could see how these look like, and this is how they look like in action. Well, not much action happening there, they're just there. Okay. Excuse me. So so there's 1 and 2 10 position frames, and over here you can see some cable management rings, or sometimes they're called molded rings. Well, sometimes you just get them the rings or brackets, cable management brackets, and there's some more of the frames. So here will be the field wiring, and of course in this case there will be a bunch of wires, so it would be using the 1A4. But if you run out of 1A4, sure, you can install 1A5s. It's just going to have to know which cable goes where from the front. All right, so that's how the BIX punch down system looks like. Other things that are associated with this system are the designation strips, and they just go right at the front here. And the designation strips do have the designation stickers. They just peel off, and you can stick them on different colors. You can color code your whole field according to however it works. Now, cable management rings, or sometimes they're called molded rings, these help us to route the wiring around the BIX field, or BIX termination field. You can put them vertically, or you can put them horizontally. And over here, so for example, over here you have one BIX termination field, and you have another BIX termination field. In between them, you run the cross-connect wire. With cross-connect wire is basically one pair that you just punch into one BIX terminal, then you run it, give it some slack, like a U shape, and then cross connect or terminate on wherever it should be according to whatever plan you have. Okay? Diagnostic clip, or sometimes known as a BIX clip. It clips on to the frame or to the connector, one pair at a time, and you can actually tap into the pair. And over here you have the fan out wiring, so you can just get the signal out of there, and you can you can tap into the line. This is for diagnostic purposes. Sometimes you need to troubleshoot things and you need to use those. So this is called a BIX clip. Now here's a BAT set, or sometimes it's called a telephone test set. BAT set, so I don't know. Some people, there's no consistent story of why it's called a BAT set. Sometimes it's called because some people say that it's because you butt into the connection, or basically maybe because when you carry your tool belt and it just hangs on your belt, and it just hangs right by your butt, so it says butt set. Now that butt set here, you can clip on with those connectors straight onto the wires, or you can use an RJ12 or RJ12 connector to plug into telephone outlets, and you can use this thing as just as a regular telephone, except it has a high impedance, so whatever the conversation happens, it's not going to be affected by tapping in with the BAT set. Now they cost anywhere from $60 to $400, $500, $600 sometimes. I have one. I just got one that was the least expensive. Let me just show you that one here. This is the cheapest one that I got, and that was just fine. And here are the connectors. So here's just a bunch of wires that are sticking out from there. How does this one work? All right, here's my alarm. Thank you, Mr. Alarm. All right. So let me just zoom out a little bit here. Here is the keypad, and here's the speaker. Here's the microphone piece. You can switch that to a speakerphone. Can you? This one here. Well, not really. This one doesn't have that. But you get couple of buttons in this one here. You can switch this to tone dialing or pulse dialing if you need. You can just you can interrupt the connection here. Now high input ring or talk. So over here, this one here, you can just tap in and that's it, and you can listen to somebody's conversation. You shouldn't be doing that. Okay, now if you click on that, this is just like hanging up the phone, and over here it's just like taking the phone off hook and talking. It has those alligator clips, and also the alligator clips, as you can see, they are perforated with some teeth. Okay. Now let's see if I can grab a piece of cable here, piece of conductor. Alright, I don't have one, so I'm just going to strip a piece of cable. I'm just going to grab one pair. Alright. Garbage. And I'm just going to cut this off. There it is. Now, the idea of this would be, if you wanted to clip on to a wire with that, you just have to split that wire. Usually cross-connect wiring is going to let you do that, and you can See if I can get this thing here like that. See if you go like this here, all right, and you can just clip on with those teeth onto the wire and squeeze. Now, without damaging the wire connector, we have just made a connection because we have bitten into the wire. And if you do this with the other one, the same thing. See that? And clip on. Make sure they don't touch. All right. Now you have just tapped into the wire with these alligator clips here. Okay. Or this butt set also has a RJ12 connector right here. So this wire, these clips right here, zoom out a little bit. These clips are connected through a wire. Right, here's the wire. They're connected through the wire into this butt set here through the RJ12 connector, but you can unclip that, you can take it out. All right. You can take that out. Right, this is RJ11. And you can plug in a regular telephone cord into that. And now you have the possibility of connecting into a telephone outlet with the other end of the cable. Sometimes you're going to have this cable already interconnected inside, and there would be like an RJ11 or RJ12 jack sticking out from the side of the cable, so you can plug in the just a regular telephone cord. Okay. All right, so that's what that's as far as a butt set goes. Keep going. All right, we're not done yet. Also, we have a tone generator and probe. Why will we need that? Well, if you remember this BIX clip right here, you can tap into a pair with this BIX clip, and onto these two, instead of connecting a butt set, because you can connect a butt set here as well with this with these clips, or you can connect a tone, all right, or tone generator. Same idea here. You can connect these two clips into these two clips, and all of a sudden you have introduced a tone. It's a double frequency tone. Sounds like that European ambulance kind of that kind of a thing, and a little bit faster. Now, why would we want to do that? Let's say you have a BIX frame in one room, and then maybe a couple floors up or somewhere else in the building there's a 25 pair cable going that's terminated on somewhere else, and the marking is done poorly. Quite often that's the case. You need to find that pair somewhere in that BIX field. That is another is another room, and that could be 1,000 pairs going on there from all over the place. And you need to be able to find or trace that pair at the other end. So this is how we do that. We connect the tone into that one pair, and we use the probe that is sensing the tone that this tone generator is generating on proximity. Right? So the closer you get to that wire, you're going to hear the tone louder, or the further you away, you're going to hear that tone first. So you can zero in on the general area. Oh, here's the tone. Okay, again, here's the tone generator. These clips you can connect to these clips from the BIX clip, and then everything else that I just said. All right, the tone is being injected into the pair. This probe is sensing the tone on proximity. Now, what happens when you think that you got this pair, because with this probe you can just zero in. Okay, I think it's somewhere in this area here, maybe that pair or that pair, but I'm not sure. Well, you can punch a couple of wires, or you can have another BIX clip onto that, and short that pair, and when you have the probe close to it, the tone should disappear. That means that's the correct pair and the pair is intact. If you hear a strong tone signal on another pair, that could be a bleed through. This tone could be bleeding from one pair to another, or you could have something that's called split pairs. And here's the thing. Splitting pairs is using one wire from one pair and another wire from another pair. Some technicians, once in a while, they would do that if they run out of free pairs when they need to repair some connection. It's a last resort. It should not be done, but sometimes just to restore the service for the time being, that's what's being done. Splitting pairs. It's not a correct procedure. However, sometimes it's been done. Right? So splitting pairs. So let's say you have orange pair and a green pair, and you use the solid because both of them are damaged. So there's one good conductor from one pair and there's another good conductor from another, and you can just get these two to create a pair. The problem with that, there's a huge possibility of creating a crosstalk or affecting other pairs, because then you lose the twist. We'll talk about that in the further lecture sessions. All right, so that's how the toner works, more or less. Also, it has other features. Different toners are made different by different companies. Once you download this PDF version of this, I encourage you to take a look at this quick YouTube link by Fluke. This happens to be by Fluke. Application for 25 pairs. Telephony. Basically, it's telephony. All right. Now you see here's a 25 pair connector. Now there's another connector here that's called RJ21X, Amphenol connector. Also, there is a way of terminating the 25 pairs cables onto it, and this would correspond to that. So you can have a telephone system with different connections, meaning different things, and you can bring them out onto 25 pair connector, and from here you can cross connect that to wherever you need to onto a BIX field, just like this. Now, telephone systems, or KSU, key service units, they come in small versions. Like this one is 3 telephone lines and 8 extensions, so this one is called 3x8. Also, we have in our class, we have mounted, installed and working something that's called 616, so you can have 6 incoming lines and 16 extensions. Or you can go modular with that. Well, you can just build up to have quite a big system in some big buildings. These telephone systems are still being in use, and they are by Nortel. Okay. Now, applications in LAN. So this will be applications in telephony, and here is in LAN. So this would be a Cat5e or Cat6 termination right here. So this frames and the mounts, they look slightly different. They are made to accommodate the specifications for the Cat6 cabling. All right, now here is a YouTube link. I also encourage you to watch this. All right, so this is as far as background when we talk about 25 pair cables and BIX termination platform. All right. Now we're going to terminate one. This is what you're going to do. We're going to get rid of this cable right here. All right. For this one, we will need one termination strip, and most of the time, if you can lay your hands on the 1A, which is the, so you see here, again, just as a review. All right, so BIX 1A, there's nothing after that. That means every fifth pair there's going to be orientation mark. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. All right. Now 1A4 is going to have orientation marks every fourth pair. See, that's how. Okay, here I'm just going to switch that. That's how they look like side by side. Okay, one has orientation marks every fourth pair, one has orientation marks every fifth pair. There's some residue wire. We just gotta whisk it out before we do that. Why don't you just do it right now? All right, just get rid of that. Come on, get out. There's one. There it goes. Okay, nice and clean. All right, then we're going to get 25 pair cable. Now where's my 25 pair cable? Did I lose it somewhere? Here it is. I had it on my lap and it just fell on the floor. All right, so here's 25 pair cable, and this is what we're going to do. First, we're going to strip. Now there are all kinds of gadgets and gizmos to do the stripping thing, but as you know me, I'm always trying to show you how to do things with one pair of those. So strip it about this much here, okay? Just so you can get the ripcord comfortably here and pull on it. So this takes a little bit longer here with the side cutters, but here it is. All right, now just going to remove that. There's my garbage can here. All right, now of course the wires are going to be damaged here. Okay, so this is going to have to be cut off or not used at all. Now, one thing I'm going to point out to you, you are going to see, as soon as you strip the insulation, you're going to have some ribbons here. Now, there's one, you're going to find one spirally wrapped ribbon around it, and in this case is white and blue, or blue ribbon. And you're going to have one that goes straight. This is the ripcord. Okay, you can just pull on it, as I said. Pull on that and you can peel the insulation. Okay. If you use that, you can't use these as a ripcord because they just spirally go around and you're just going to create a mess. Now, here's the idea of this. Well, they bind these cables together. Also, the purpose of this blue ribbon spirally wrapped around is to mark the first 25 pairs. Because sometimes you're going to deal with something like a 100 pair cable, and 100 pair cable is 1, 2, 3, 4 of these in one jacketing, and they're separated by the spiral ribbons. So the first 25 pairs is going to be marked with the blue ribbon. Second one is going to be marked with the orange ribbon. And there's going to be a green ribbon and brown. So depending on, just so you can keep the bundles together. Now, this one here we can just cut off because we know this is only one set of 25 pairs. But if you have 100 pair cable, when you strip the jacketing, you should keep that intact. And basically what you do is you just take that and just tie the knot around that. So just to keep the bundle, and now you know which ones. After you strip the jacket to wherever you need to be, and now so you don't lose count of which pair belongs to that, because let's say here is a yellow-green pair, and if you let those ribbons go from the 100 pair cable, you will not be able to tell whether this yellow-green belongs to the first bundle or third bundle or second bundle. So that's why we have those. Okay. So how far am I going to strip that? Well, far. Okay, basically just like that. And usually, remembering by the class, previous classes, I found that a pretty good length for the purpose of our exercise is that between this point where the wires are damaged and to the point that you're going to pull the ripcord. If you have a whole length of this frame here, that's good. You don't need anything more. All right, right here. I just stripped a little bit further, but that's okay. Now, what we're going to do now is, okay, you know what? I'm just going to cut this here because, of course, this is going to go 200 feet somewhere, because that's the idea of terminating. But for the purpose of this exercise, I'm just going to cut this length right here. Okay. And just get rid of that so it doesn't get underneath my wheels on my office chair here. Okay, there we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to peel the insulation. And we're going to cut the insulation. Make a nice clean cut. Remember, every time I'm talking to you in our lab classes, I'm asking you to make things nice and neat. Of course, that fluff that's happening here, that also has to be removed. So we're going to get that ripcord, and we're going to get this spiral wrap. Yeah. And if we're not going to tie any nodes here, we can just cut them off, because can we cut them off? Yes, we can cut this off, because there's only one bundle of 25 pairs. Okay. So now we have 25 pairs. Normally I would cut this piece off here, this one that says that was damaged because we were nicking the insulation, the jacketing. But we're never going to get to that point when we are doing this, so we can just leave that on. Now we're going to separate the groups. Okay, here's the thing. Once you start terminating the 25 pair cables, and once you get comfortable with it, wait a minute, I'm wearing the headphones. Once you get comfortable with that, you're going to just keep grabbing the pairs as you see them. But for the purpose of this exercise, first we're going to group them into groups. Remember when we were studying the group colors? And we can just get the groups. Again, as a review here, can we see that? Yes, we can. Groups. This is 25 pair. 25 pair groups. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups. The groups are, remember, white, because we have done it already, and that's the first thing that we ever dealt with, was the white group. White, blue, white, orange, white, green, and so on. Then Canadian colors, red. Okay, then black and yellow, kill a fellow. Remember, yes, there was a coral snake in Texas that elementary school teachers teach that little rhyme thing to the kids so they don't get bitten by those snakes. Yellow. And violence is the last thing we ever need. Violence almost looks like violet. That's the last group. White, red, black, yellow, violet. Okay, so these are the groups. And as a review, as designations, we have every single group will have blue, orange, green, and we're going to have brown, and slate. Slate stands for gray. Okay. So we're going to group those wires, and this is what we're going to do. I'm going to show you that in a close-up view here. All right, it is easier to find those groups and not make a mess if you go right by the jacketing here. If you start doing it from here, from this end, you're just going to get lost in this whole thing. Okay, so first, remember, is white. So let's just get all the whites together. So here's white blue, here's white green, and you can just quickly get them. So we're just going to grab that. So once you get the white group, do not separate the pairs. Keep the pairs intact. Do not untwist the pairs. We just get the white group. Okay, so white blue and white green, they all belong to white group. Okay, so here is one from white group. Okay, there's another one. We should have 5. Do we have 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What are we missing? Blue, orange, green, brown. We are not having brown here. Okay, there is brown. All right, now we're just going to verify if nothing is kind of entangling us. So if that's the case, I'm just going to get rid of that. So just so we don't have a mess. Neatness is the thing. All right, so now once I have that, okay, blue, orange, green, brown, and slate. There we got. And I'm just going to go right to the end of this bundle right here. And I'm going to tie just a little tiny squiggly kind of a thingy here. Just like that, so the group stays intact. Okay? Don't do it all the way because we're going to cut this off. All right? Just at the tip. Okay? So then we're going to, now, we're going to get all the other groups as well. Let's just zoom out a little bit. Can we see things? Yes, we can. All right, so next would be red. So here is the red, green. Here's red, here's red, here's red. All right, and you need 5. We got 4. What are we missing? Blue, orange, green, brown, slate. We're missing slate, so it's going to be somewhere. No, we have the slate. We just don't have the orange. So here's red and orange. Okay. Now, is there anything kind of trying to get in between those wires here? Let's just get rid of that. Okay. Yeah. Now we have this group intact. And again, I'm just going to go right to the very end here and just bind them together just at the tip. Okay. Don't go all the way here. Leave that separated because we're going to use that. All right. And as you notice, as you go along, you're going to have less wires to sort through because, well, we're just 5 pairs. You got 10 pairs. Got it black. So okay, white, red, black. Okay, here's black. Here's black. Here's black. Here's black. See how quickly it goes? There's another one somewhere. It's gonna be black. Or do we have 5? Blue, orange. Black, orange. Here it is. Okay. Can we have that intact? Yes, we can. All right. Okay. Tie the little squiggly thingy at the end, and that's it. The rest is separated, so that's good. It's black. Yellow is next. See, this is the only thing that we have to sort through. It goes quick. So all the yellows together. Here, here, here. Okay, now just make sure that they're nicely not tangled with the other wires. Here we have the yellow group. Okay, the little squiggly thingy there at the end. All right. And the only thing we have left is the violets, and we're just going to make sure that we have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We have violet blue, orange, green, brown, and slate. And we're going to also tie the little tiny knot at the end. Okay, there it is. Okay, so now we have 5 of these groups separated. Okay. Okay, so here's our white group, here's our red group, here's black, yellow, and violet. Okay, what are we going to do next? Well, we're going to mount this thing on the frame and terminate this thing. Okay. So here is what we're going to do. Let's see, let's choose one comfortable position on this frame. So let's just say we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4th position from the bottom. Okay. Now I have chosen 1A without any designation numbers after A, but if you just happen to have that 1A4, it will not make any difference. Okay, you're just going to have the designation marks or the orientation marks in a different way. So let's put that thing 1, 2, 3, 4th position here. Going to clip that on, and we're going to bring the wire from underneath, and that's how we're going to terminate this here. So now let's say, okay, because here's the first pair of termination strips, right, and that's going to be just like that. Right, now here is the second pair of the termination strips. I was just going to, just for kicks, going to put the other one in. And this would be another termination strip right here. So that's how these things work. The idea is, so on the outside of the pair of the strips, the wire is not there. Right? All the wire should be hidden within the pair here. So this is where the wire should be terminated, and all this loose ends or slack, and then that can be covered with the termination or designation strip. If you happen to have one and you have to move from one position to another and the wires are on the outside of the pair, no big deal, but we're going to practice. It's still going to work, but we're going to practice doing this thing properly as far as the neatness and organization goes. Okay, now, so I'm just going to get rid of those strips here, and we're going to concentrate on this one. So over here, since this is the pair, we're going to have that jacketing, this jacketing here, right between this termination strip or this connector and the next one, just so it's just like in between here. Okay, just like that. All right, and we're going to get a zip tie, and we're going to fasten the cable here. Let me just get the zip tie in. Oops, here's the little zip tie bracket. Pretty sure somebody came up with some fancy name for it. Alright, I'm just going to get this thing right to the very end, put the cable in there, and thread that zip tie through itself. And just before we squeeze it, we're just going to make sure that this jacketing is just underneath that, right here with the designation strip. That's a good comfortable. It's a good comfortable position right here. Okay, so just underneath that strip in this case. Okay, and I'm going to fasten the. Come on, work with me. Right. Now, I'm not going to fasten it like crazy because the wires should be able to breathe. I don't care if it's cat 3, it still should have a little bit of a breathing room here as far as being squeezed. Always trim the zip tie, right? And get the zip tie with the flat side of the side cutters towards the head of the zip tie. Because if you do it that way, you're going to leave a little bit of a nipple here with that. And here's the thing about zip ties. This is plastic, it's hard and it's sharp. If somebody runs their hand on it, you can get a nice rip here. Okay, so I'm just going to cut this off. Sometimes people use files just a little bit to file those off. Okay, so now we have the mounting done. Okay, now we're going to start preceding for the punch down. Right? So here's the we did the preparation. We have our pairs separated. We're going to grab the first pair. Okay, so here's our first pair. We're going to do, once we grab the first pair, we're just going to cut off that knot that we just did. Okay, just at the tip. Okay. So now we are ready to terminate the first group. Okay, now we're going to go, remember, blue, orange, green, brown, slate. So here we have our white group, and it's going to go in this order: blue, orange, green, brown, and slate. Slate stands for gray. That's how we're going to start that on the termination strip. So let's start doing that. I'm going to have to coordinate my view so I can still see what I'm doing, and I'm not going to cover the view with my hands. All right, so we're going to do one by one, positioning them. All right, those the other cables, they are being basically out of the way for now. Now we're going to make sure that this cable is nice and straight, and we're going to start with the first pair. And here's how we're going to do. We're going to leave a little bit of a slack here, just like that. Okay, that's the first loop of our slack. And then we're going to go right by the edge, and we're going to pinch that with our finger right to the beginning of this frame. We're going to run that cable along the frame, and this is where the first one gets terminated. And remember, group color always goes first. So this is how we're going to precede that. Okay, just going to go, group color is in this case white, so white goes first. All right, and Cat 3 doesn't have that as much twist as Cat 5 or Cat 5e, and then we're just going to push that in with our fingers. Yeah. Okay, so now what we have is a certain length of cable that goes along this termination strip, and we have a little bit of a slack here. It is important to have that slack. And it is important that the cable goes around the slack, and it goes right here, and it starts running along the termination strip. It's extremely important. Do not do it like this. Okay? Don't ever do it. Please don't do it, because you're going to have to do it again. Now, so here's the blue, and the next one is orange. Okay? So we're going to make that orange cable, or conduct those pair, follow the same slack. And we're going to make sure that this is almost like we're making a new cable without the jacketing, that this has to be nice, neat, and clean. Okay, this slack is going to take a shape, and all of those are going to go along this slack right now. And then, you see here, it just goes like that. We're going to put that over here, run the pair along the connector, and we're going to put it in the next pair slot, which is the orange second pair. Okay? And just push that in. Okay? See that? Now green, I can do it a bit faster here. And the next one goes into the green slot. Again, we're just going to verify that nothing has run on us. See, the slack is building nicely as one continuous, almost like a cable without the jacketing. Okay, see that? We're going to bind it together later. Okay? So here's blue, orange, green. The next one is brown. See, that one is kind of trying to run away on us. Okay, here, bring that pair along the slack, along the slack here, along the strip. Okay. And then group color goes first, which is white, brown, white, and brown. Okay. So blue, orange, green, brown, and the last one is the slate. Okay, we're going to bring it along this slack here. See how it's building up right now? Nice and beautiful. And over here, we're going to run it nice and beautifully and straight along this frame. And that's the last. And make sure that the group color goes first, which is the white in this case. All right, so here's our first white group preceded. Later on, we're going to punch it. Okay. Now, next one, remember, is red. So then again, we're going to find the red group. Here it is. All right. We're going to cut off that little binding knot that we just did. And again, we're going to go blue, orange, green, brown, slate, except for the group color instead of white, we have red. So so here it is. I'm just going to go like this here. All right, so it's nice and beautiful. Follow the slack here again. Go along the strip, and it goes into the next slot. See, that is the orientation mark. Here's the next, where the next group begins. This is the orientation marks every 5 pairs. Okay, so blue, orange. Where is red, orange? Red, orange. Here it is. Okay, and we're going to go just like that here. Follow the slack. Follow the frame. And group color goes first, which is in this case red. Next is green. Yeah, just run it just like that. Green. Group color goes first, which is red. Yeah. Okay, nice and beautiful. After green comes brown, so red, brown. Here. Run it along the slack over here, and red goes first, of course. Brown. And the last pair is going to be slate. So red, slate. Okay, along the slack, run it along the slack, run it along the frame. And red goes first. You see, here is the second orientation mark. That means we're done with the second group. All right, next one is black. Again, cut it off. That little node. And we're going to go blue, orange, green, brown, slate. So, okay, run it along the slack, run it along the frame. See, things are getting shorter. So black goes first, then goes orange, black, orange. Here's orange and brown. Here's the orange. Okay, here, and black goes first because it's the group color. We just have to, I should probably do it a little bit, because see, this thing just ran away on us here. Okay, it's still part of the slack. Okay, you know what, let's just do it again. Follow the slack. Here, follow the frame. And black goes first. There we go. Alright. Nice, beautiful slack that we have here. Orange, green. Black goes first. Brown and slate. Brown and slate. Brown here. So black goes first and brown goes second. Okay. Nice slack here. And slate. Run along the slack, run along the frame, and black goes first. Okay, so here's orientation mark. See that? Nice. Black, yellow. Cut things off. Actually, they're coming apart themselves. Okay. All right. Again, yellow, blue, orange, green, brown, slate. All right. Blue, orange, green, brown, slate. And this is the last group that we're going to do it this way, which is the second last group. Yellow is the second last group, and the violet is the last. The last group, we're going to do it slightly different. So here's the blue, and yellow goes first. Orange. Yellow goes first because it's a group color. Green. Yellow goes first. Yeah. Brown. And yellow goes first. Yeah. And slate, yellow slate. Here it is. Yeah. And run along the slack, and yellow goes first along the frame, and yellow goes first. And you can see that we're still on track. We didn't double insert anywhere because see, there's the orientation mark. Now, when it comes to the last violet group, I need to cut this off here. A little binding knot at the end. See, once we start running things along the slack here, it's going to get too close to here. It's going to get too messy. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go follow the slack, and we're going to go past that point and come back a little bit. So we're going to create a secondary slack here. All right, just like that. And this is where it goes. So violet goes first because it's the group color. All right, see that? We just run along the slack, and we go, normally we would go straight into here, but we're going to go past that and form a secondary slack. All right, and then just go back right into here. All right, so blue, orange. Now there are different, most of the time it's basically the same thing here. So here's the orange, and violet goes first. As you go along, if you get hired in this type of field, which chances are that you will, then you're going to develop your own personal flavor of doing things. This is just one way, and I find that pretty straightforward here. Okay, so here is the green, blue, orange, green. Violet goes first. All right, and here's the green, brown. Now we're following this slack and that slack now, eh? Yeah. And violet goes first because it is the group color. And now we have the last pair, which is the violet slate. Follow the slack, follow the other slack, and stick it in right here, and violet goes first because it's the group color. Okay, so now see how beautiful this thing is now. All the wires are going to go follow the one slack here, and all of them terminate following along the strip and just go one by one here, except for the last group because it's just too close to this point right here. We're just going to go a little bit past that and just go like that. This is telephony Cat 3. Cat 5 or Cat 5e is not going to work that way because it's simply not going to fulfill the specifications of that. All right, now there are a couple things we can do. We need to bind this thing at this spot here, so we can just either do the binding now or we can do it binding at the end. Remember, these are those little designation slots or binding slots right here. There's one here, excuse me, there's one on the other side, and there is one here, and there's one on the other side. How it works, it just works like this. You can put your zip tie in it, a little tiny zip tie, and it just goes right through. Okay, and this is how you can bind the cable with the zip tie. So we're going to find that right here. Let me just I'm just gonna have to go right between the wires here. That's okay. There it is. Here's that little slot. There it is. Okay. We're going to pull that around. And we're going to make sure that this slack here and that slack, they're nice and equal. And we're going to bind that and sculpt that into place. So we have the wire going here, and they all come to this entry point, and they follow along the frame, and they are pre-seated in the right spots. Right, now I'm going to always trim the zip ties. Now, time to punch things down. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that the cables are not pushed against the frame, because if they are like that, the knife is not going to have a chance to reach that. So I'm just going to basically, stand them up a little bit so the knife can reach them to cut them off. All right, so I'm just going to prepare them for punching. Okay. There we go. There, that's good enough here. And then we're going to get the punch down tool and start punching. Now the thing about this BIX punch down tool, you can't be wimpy about it. You're going to hold it in one hand, put the other hand on top of at the back here, and just push that thing. This thing has to really be stabbed. Okay. Otherwise, if you just do an insert and pull it out, insert, chances are that you're going to make connections that are not fully connected, or intermittent connections, and there's nothing worse than trying to find out that something that looks like it's connected but it's not. All right. Now there's an action selector here. And it turns. You see that? You can turn that. Okay, you can turn this one way, and you can turn this the other way. See that? Now, if you turn that so the stripes goes along, I'm just going to use empty slot here. The knife is going to cut. See that? So the knife is moving, it's going to cut things. Okay. The knife is going to cut. See, the knife is moving. Let me just see. See, when I hold that, okay, the knife is cutting. Okay, it's going to cut the wires as it punches. If you turn it the other way, you can block the knife, so it's just going to insert the wire, but it's not going to cut. See that? It's just going to push the wire in, but things are not going to get cut. Sometimes you want the knife to cut, and sometimes you want the knife to not cut. But in this case, we're going to set it up so the knife cuts. All right. In the other one that we have at school, the other punch down tool, you can, how does this one work? Basically, you replace the head with the one that has no knife, or sometimes it's a double-ended head. Okay, so you can just flip it around. Okay. Because there's no way. In this one here, it's an impact tool. So once you put that, it just does that. It just has an impact, spring-loaded impact action. And over here, you see there's a high and low impact. This one is selected to low impact. So I'm just going to twist that around. See that? Twist that around. It just kind of takes a little bit strength here. So that one's going to be high impact tool. We want a high impact on this BIX for sure. Okay. And still, we really need to, those things, we really need to be stabbed. I'm going to use one punch tool, and then I'm going to use the other. Right, let's see if we're going to be successful showing you how it works. So the camera view has, okay, here, all right, see that thing is being cut off. Another one, all right, and we just keep going. Just going to flip it around just to see the cutting off action. The cutting action. So So we're just going to do it backwards here. Let's see if I can position my camera even better here. All right. Just going to straighten them out a little bit so the knife has a chance to cut them off. And see the knife. All right. So we just keep going with that. Those things are. Let's try the other punch down tool. Same thing. Remember to position the knife at the point that you want to cut things off. We want to cut these wires off, not the ones that are connected, right? That are supposed to be connected. So we have to make sure. This one here does it this way. Are we having that? Yeah. Having fun yet? So this one doesn't want to reach the knife here. Okay. So to make sure that the knife has a chance to reach the. And you're gonna break a sweat doing this a little bit. This is going to punch. This one didn't cut. Now it did. Okay. Come on, we need things cut. Here. Alright. These tools have seen better days. Alright, this one didn't cut. Oh, there we go, where are we here? Okay. I'm gonna do it with two hands here. And two more pairs. This thing just keeps moving all over the place here. And let's see, if they're out of the way too much, the knife won't be able to reach them. Here. And yeah, okay, just gonna gather all the wires and throw them in our bin here. See if you can. All right, so here's our frame. Here's our cut of wires. All right. Now, let's see what we have here. Just gotta make sure that all the wires are nicely punched and nothing has jumped on us. Yeah? All right. So here's blue pair, orange pair, green pair, brown pair, and slate pair. All the white group wires. White goes first because it's the group. Here's the red group. All right. Blue, orange, green, brown, slate, and red always first. Here's the black, and here's the yellow, and here's the violet. Now we're not done yet. So now, when you have this done, okay, I'm just get rid of these debris here. Notice there's a nicely formulated slack here, and the wires are bound. So if you take it out of the frame, it is nicely terminated. There's no mess. See that? Okay. Now, remember the pairs. So here is going to be another. Here's going to be another termination strip. But we're not done yet. We need to flip it upside down because we won't be able to connect to these. These connectors are all taken. They're connected through this connector here to the front. but the front is at the back, so we need to flip it. Right? So for the lab report or the work order that we are doing, you're going to take a picture just like that. I want to see, right, just like this here. I want to see a nice clean mount here with the cable tie or zip tie trimmed right here. That needs to be trimmed. I need to see a nice beautiful slack here that goes right from where the wire is for the jacketing ends right here, all the way nicely and beautifully all the way to here, and nice binding right here. I don't want to see any of the wires not being bound. See, the whole bundle is bound by this zip tie. And I want to see it nice and clear so I can tell the colors when I'm marking your work. I want to make sure that none of those are have moved or jumped from one place to the other by accidents. Before you give your job to the client, you hand it over, you should make sure that you just go once over just to see that you have done anything that you shouldn't have done by mistake. And sometimes happens, a pair just gets flipped. Okay? And that is not good if you are giving a working system that has to be reliable to a client. Okay? So that's the first picture. Yeah, just frame it like that. I want to see, again, zip tie, nice jacket here, and I want to see that nicely punched, and I want to see nicely bound, nice bound here, and a nice and beautiful slack. You should be able to just push that jacketing over, and that should be able to cover that. No mess here, please, no mess. Okay, you got mess, you get marks deducted. So that's the first picture. Yeah. And you're going to call this a BIX frame rear, right? And then we're going to take that out of the mount, because you see here, here's the pair, and here's going to be the designation strip. So those are going to have to be hidden within that pair and covered by the designation strip after they are done. Now obviously, if we were punching this one here, we would not be punching that from the top, running the wires from the top. We would be running the wires from the bottom here. So once we flip it upside down, those wires are going to end up on the inside of the pair of those strips. Okay? So here's the flippage. Here's how we do it. We're going to take that out of the frame by just undoing that little clip here. This one or that one, doesn't matter. And then we're not flipping it that way, we're flipping it this way, because pair 1 has to be blue, white blue. And the last pair has to be violet slate. Okay? If we do it this way, we're going to do a mirror image of the whole thing. That's just missing the point. So we're going to flip it upside down, not left side in or left side right, whatever. Okay, in order to do a clean flippage, you're just going to grab those from this side here, and as we flip it this way, we're going to help ourselves to bring that slack here and position that here. Oh, you see what happens here? My zip tie has broken. Yeah, there was something wrong with this one. Well, I don't have any more of those big ones, so you know what? I'm just going to use the little smaller zip tie here. There you go. Sometimes that's happens 1 in a million, I guess, but it does. Again, it was somewhere here. Alright, that's where the jacketing was. Alright, so here we got that, and let's just clean and the zip tie here. Okay, so now we have this thing flipped. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to just properly sculpt or mold those wiring here, so it just goes just like nice and beautiful. Here, sculpt it. Okay. Or you can do it this way and just bring it nicely together. All right. So now you're going to take another picture, and I want to see this part here nicely and no mess. Can I get this thing here? All right, nicely without mess. All right, and you're going to take another picture just like that, frame it just like this here. I want to see that the frame has been flipped properly, and you're going to call this a BIX frame front instead of the rear. Right. If you want, you can go cute about that, and you can still put another frame that goes there, and you can put a designation strip that goes here. So this is basically the 25 pair cable terminated. Yeah. Now, as far as lab report or work order report that we do, you're going to have 2 pages again. All right, so page 1, let me just see here. This is good. Page number 1 is going to be the work order. Page number 2, we're going to have 2 tables. First table, just as I showed you. All right. First table is going to have the first picture with the wires pointing towards me. So this is going to be the first one here. Let me just here. That is going to be the first picture. Okay, right here. Focus. Okay, just like that. With the wires, I want to see how you have terminated the wires, and this is going to be BIX frame rear. Right? And then you're going to flip it. You're going to flip it around. Make it nice and beautiful. I'm going to take another picture, BIX frame front, which is going to be the second table right here. And that is going to be the completion of the lab. Of course, I'm going to set up a rubric with the criteria that I'm going to make sure that you pay attention to, so you do a proper job. So before you submit that, of course, please take a look at the rubric to see if you're missing any criteria. Okay? And this was a demonstration on how to terminate a 25 pair cable. Peace out.